don't. Some days I will. Some days I won't. Some days I sink. Some days I float. Some days I get real smart and live by these quotes. Let go and let God. Let go and let God. Let go and let God be in charge. Let my worries go. Let go and let God. Let go and let God. Let go and let God be in charge. Let my worries go. Some days I'm up. Some days I'm down. Some days I smile. Some days I frown. Some days I work. Some days I play. Some days I get real smart. And here's what I say. Let go and let God. Let go and let God. Let go and let God be in charge. Let my worries go. Let go and let God. Yes. Let go and let God. Let go and let God be in charge. Let my worries go. Let go and let God be in charge. And let my worries go. It is a beautiful morning in Nashville, and thank you for joining us at Unity of Music City for celebration services, celebration of life, celebration of all the wonderful things that we have to be grateful for, no matter what, all the time. And we're here to remember that and to affirm that together. And also to learn together and to grow together and to be together. And even though many of you, as you know, aren't in the room with us yet, we're getting back there. And we're eager to see and feel your energy, to see your faces and to feel your energy in the room. But until that time, we feel your hearts over the internet in the room with us now. So good morning, and thank you for being here again. And we're going to have a reading from Jill. Yes, thank you.
Good morning. We cannot save the world without God's help. But He can't save the world without ours. We need His love. He needs our hands and feet. Today, I give you mine. A love that hovers above the earth, however well-intentioned, is not enough to save the world. It is a willing heart and love embodied that carry with them miraculous authority to turn darkness into light. God cannot do for us what He cannot do through us. And today, I pray that He works through me. May I be used for a higher purpose as I surrender to Him my hands and feet, my thoughts and behavior. May they reflect His love. May angels guide me that I might do the part assigned me to help heal the world. Today is a day of surrender as I seek not my own goals, but the one goal of God. May my heart be so open and my soul so soft that I am a conduit for all things good. May it be revealed to me where to go, what to do, what to say, and to whom, that I might serve Him best. In every moment, may I remember to pray, Dear God, please use me, for thus it will be so.
Thank you. The words of Marianne Williamson in A Year of Miracles, Day 7.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Always there for you. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Peace I leave with you. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Always there for you. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Peace I leave with you.
Thank you. And I invite you to be comfortable wherever you might be. And close your eyes if you choose. The whole world breathes together. The whole world grieves together. The whole world needs together. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. I am God. And where is God? In the midst of tragedy, living in the hearts, in the hands of humanity. And as we open now to the softest softness, to only love, to only compassion. No need to respond. No need to write. But only a need to feel. A need to feel into what is my truest nature. A need to feel into where is my softest place. How can I be the most receptive? to what asks to be emerged from me. In the silence, what asks to be emerged from me. In the silence. In the silence. The whole world breathes together. Our whole country grieves together. And we know that we need together. We need to be together. We need to be united, and we have to find a way. And knowing that we are one with God and God is one with us, and there is no division, there's no duality, there's no place that you stop and I start. It is one continuous and beautiful, dynamic stream of love energy. And we are more open than ever to what is waiting to emerge as us as the answer to how we might appear as the answer, to what we might say, where we might go, what we might do as an answer. And we know this is so. We know this is our nature. And so we affirm together. And so it is. The world breathes together. And we certainly have grieved together and continue to grieve together. Some of us can't begin to understand the level of pain that parts of our family, our black family, are feeling. And yet, we are the mission of love. We are the mission of unity. And it's now more important than ever. More important than it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Today it's more important than ever for us to take this mission as seriously as we have ever taken anything in our lives. We have a tendency to say it's not life and death, right? About things, about trivial things. But we know that this is life and death. And this week we have certainly seen that this is about life and death. And so we do continue our series this week about contributing greatly to a world in need of great contributors. And I know that no one would argue that we are a world in need of great contributors, right? Where are the lights? The lights are here. The lights are watching. The lights are in this room. The light is in our hearts. And so we have been talking over the past few weeks about the 5 phases of soul. And so today we are focusing on the 3rd phase, emerging. Emerging. And as I was speaking before about specifically what is asking to emerge in us. And how are we asked to be? What is our opportunity to be? Many of you have probably seen this before. A flower does not think of competing with the flower next to it. It just blooms. Right? It's one of my favorite quotes. And recently I planted some flowers at my house, And I was watering them yesterday evening, as my sister tells me I have to do, or else they'll die. So I'm out there every morning or every evening, like clockwork. And I was also in the process of receiving parts of this message. And as I was watering the plants, I was watching and I was thinking, well, what would it be like if in that window box, where that flower is, there was just a void? Not a replacement, but just a void. And then you see a beautiful flower, and you see a beautiful this and that, and then a void. Because certain pieces of that beautiful picture haven't shown up. And I got to thinking about how we love to look at the ocean, a lot of us do. And it's a beautiful sight, and it's something that many of us can immediately visualize when we say the ocean. And now imagine that if you're looking at that scene, there are certain waves that aren't there. We are the waves in that ocean, and some of us aren't here. Some of us are afraid to emerge. Some of us are afraid to be here. Some of us are unsure of how we might best show up. And I got to thinking, I know that most of the people watching this today will be in white skin as they're watching it. And so I think it's appropriate to remember when we think about why we don't show up. White people aren't always taught to feel. We are taught to think first, most of the time. And I'm not speaking for everybody, but I'll speak for me, right? Think. And maybe feel. Maybe. But more than likely what you feel is going to have to be managed by what you think. That's where we come from. What you feel needs to be managed. Needs to be controlled, needs to be handled. There's a quote by, his name just, somebody help me, you'll probably know, and if you do, help me on it. But it's, don't ask what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive and go do that. Because the world needs people who have come alive. Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman. I have it on the side of my refrigerator. But you know how when you get in these moments, sometimes you don't think of all the words. You don't think of all the names. Fortunately, go do that. People who have come alive. So what enables us to come alive? Love, compassion, understanding, making ourselves available to be a vehicle to address the misunderstanding in the world, a vehicle to address the hurt, the struggle, the pain. And as Toni Morrison says, when you yourself have found some power, when you have experienced some power, the most important thing you can do is share it with someone else so that they can find power on their own. If you have experienced a way in your life to find power, to find peace, how are you passing that on every day? How are you sharing what you've learned every day? Because as we can see from the events of this week, there is plenty of opportunity to share what we know. One of the ironies of healing, growing, and creating the life you truly desire is that in many ways it requires the opposite response of what kept you safe. Has anybody ever considered that we may not be showing up because we believe it's safer to remain hidden? Maybe we don't share what we know or what we feel in the appropriate times because we would prefer to be safe, because we've practiced being safe. Safety is familiar because we've practiced safety since we were little children. Look both ways before you cross the street. Always be safe. But we have to be very careful as lights of love what we mean when we mean safe. Do we mean physically safe? Or do we mean ego safe? Do we mean keep your ego safe? Because that's a lot of times what we do. We keep our ego safe. We don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable. We don't allow ourselves to be out there and to be seen and to be heard. And right now, my family in white skin, the world needs us to be heard. It needs our hearts to be heard. And not about the atrocity of vandalism. If it's one thing that I know for sure, when I watch the coverage and I watch my white family responding about their dismay about some destruction of property, white folks, you have two wrong feet in ugly shoes. When you express your dismay about destruction of property, when there has been loss of life, and you've remained silent. And why do we remain silent? A lot of times because we don't know what to say. But today we're going to talk about that. Because I want everybody to leave this room today and this cast today knowing at least one more thing they can do so that they don't have to be silent anymore because they just didn't know what to say. An emergent evolution. In the course of evolution, some entirely new properties such as mind and consciousness appear at certain critical points. Usually because of an unpredictable rearrangement of the already existing entities. Emergent evolution. This is what's happening. This is what continues to ask to happen, only now we're at a place where we have another opportunity to allow it to happen through us. An emergent evolution. Many of you all may know that for the last 15 years, I've had the gift, not 15, I'm sorry, it's been about 12. Sometimes it feels like a lot less. But it's been about 12 years. I've worked in the HIV services arena. And growing up in white skin in a southern bubble, as I did in southwestern Virginia, I had no idea the education that was awaiting me when I stepped into, and literally, I feel like it came for me. I never pursued it. It came for me, but I said yes. Fortunately, because at the time, I needed a job, and I was thinking, not necessarily feeling yet, I was thinking, I need a job. So Nashville Cares said, here's an opportunity. I said, I need a job. And what I didn't know at that time was my whole world was about to be split wide open, and my heart as well. Thank God. Several years later, working in the HIV services arena, I had the privilege of being at an outreach event. And I call it a privilege because one of the most important things happened to me that night, and it had to do with my white privilege. And before that time, I had never, I'd heard of the term, but I certainly had never thought about the term white privilege. And so we were at the event, and I was there as a sponsor, and I was the only white face in the room. There were about 200 people. I had come with a colleague who was also black, and we were there, and a good friend of mine was the DJ. He was on the mic. And everybody was having a great time, including me. And my friend said, I saw Vic Sorrell in the house. He called me So Real. Vic Sorrell in the house. How's that white privilege working for you now? So what do you think my first thought was? Now remember, I'm white. My first thought, my company paid for the food for this event, was my first thought. I'm here as a sponsor. Supporting was my first thought. Just in case everybody is not already on the same page as I am, that, my friends, is white fragility. Boom. Exactly white fragility. When your first inclination is, how have I been attacked when someone has expressed their position? And they're in black skin, and I'm in white skin. How have I been attacked? In white skin, white fragility. That's it. So I spiraled. I absolutely spiraled. And the colleague that I was there with has been one of the most beautiful teachers of my life, said to me, "You don't understand why I can't support you right now." I said, "I sure don't. I have no idea." And he said, well, he said a lot of things, but what he said that changed my life that night was, "Vic, your intellect has not yet caught up to your heart. I feel your heart, but you have not studied. You don't know the struggles. You don't know the backstories. You don't know the 400 years that have brought us to this point tonight, and why the DJ said what he said, and why I'm saying what I'm saying right now. It doesn't mean I don't love you. It means I can't support you because you don't understand. You have work to do." And boy, was he right. Imagine being black and queer. Imagine being enraged over the killings of black people and still enraged about the killing of black trans people and beatings of little queer kids. Now, imagine being the person expected to still fight for this, for all this. And I think a lot of times those of us in white skin have that expectation. That's their fight. That's their cause. I support them. That's their work to do. It's the majority's responsibility to take care of the minority. And even though we don't necessarily feel equipped to do so, we can grow in that area. Social media is one of the best, I think, ways for us to receive authentic expressions of truth from those who may feel hesitant to step up and step out otherwise. One of our black Nashville family this morning on social media, 20-year-old male. I don't know if the right words can ever be said, but yesterday was such an emotional day. I have never in a million years thought that I, a 6'1", nappy-headed gay black man from a small town in Mississippi, would be standing there with my generation and our elders protesting a global pandemic. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. I stood there yesterday, arms crossed, face to face with Nashville Metro Police Department. Some grinned in our face, and some even expressed their feelings. Was I afraid to be present? No. I had every right to be there as a black man who has encountered multiple acts of racist government guardians. It only felt right to be there. I told my black and white brothers and sisters to remove their sunglasses. Let them see your eyes. This is not a joke. This has to end. Together we can change the world if we all start doing our part. Thank you to everyone who reached out yesterday to check on me. Thank you to all my non-colored friends who protested, walked, and stood with us. Most importantly, if you witness an act of injustice and don't speak or act out on it, you are just as guilty as those committing actual crimes. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And that's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. Another post this morning. I felt like this month has been a year. Kids will read about this month in history classes for years to come. Last night was a night of violence and unrest across the nation. I am going to respond to comments I have seen online and the way people are responding to the situation. I may have failed to preface this with, this is another member of our Black Nashville family. To my white friends, sometimes it is okay to just listen. You don't have to understand or solve everything. To say this is wrong tells me more about lack of understanding than anything. And let me preface with, there will never be enough space to express your feelings of outrage at the murders of those who are unjustly murdered. However, your expressions of outrage about destruction of property could probably be done without. This is not just about one death of George Floyd. This is not just about one death. Every time I hear someone say this is not how to get injustice, this is not how to get justice for George Floyd, I am reminded how easily we miss the point. I was telling my husband last night that this country has never dealt with race. And every few years it takes a catalyst and the powder keg goes off. George Floyd was this catalyst. People are angry. Black people have seen their family and friends killed for years and nothing has happened. We march and nothing changes. We vote and nothing changes. We kneel and nothing changes except that you tell us we do it wrong. In addition to nothing changing, we are criticized for not doing this the right way. Black people are tired and hurt. Don't be surprised when they strike back. To my white friends, just stop. You don't understand what it feels like, nor do you understand the anger. Stop saying, I understand the anger, but I don't understand the violence. You really don't understand. I know for some this may come from a good place, but you don't understand. You should empathize, but try not to tell me or any person of color how to feel about a situation. Which brings us to the All Lives Matter hashtag. I wanted to share this with you, and I could just tell you about this, but I want you to experience this man's passion. And for those of you who are watching and you aren't able to see this clip as well, let me know. I'll be glad to send you the link if you'd like to replay it. But this is, before you play the clip, let me just tell you exactly who this is. Somebody that I just encountered yesterday. This man's name is Carl Lentz, and he is the senior pastor of Hillsong Church in New York City.
I said a statement last week, which was a very mild statement, because I believe we want to agree with God. We want to be on God's side. My statement was this: for me, I believe that black lives matter. That's what I said. Anybody with a functioning brain understands that all lives matter. Anybody. But right now, there is a portion of our community that is frustrated, and they are suffering, and they are hurting. So as an empathetic Christian, I'm going to go and say, I agree with the statement, black lives do matter. But I was glad some people disagreed with me, because I kept saying, do black lives matter, yes or no? Yes, but. I'm like, there is no but. We disagree. Those are the same type of people that would have interrupted Jesus during the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus would have been like, blessed are the poor. No, Jesus, blessed are all people. Since when does highlighting one issue disparage another? Are we not secure enough to be able to sit here and go issue by issue and just talk about one without disparaging another? Of course, all lives matter, but it's okay to say black lives matter. What's wrong with you? This is not rocket science. All lives matter. No kidding. That's why we're saying black lives matter, because until all lives matter equally, we need to focus on this. I said a statement last week, which was a very...
I love his passion. I love his message. And I think a lot of times that's what white folks need, is some passion. We need to feel this. We have become so conditioned to seeing the news and going on with our lives. We're not feeling this. We can't possibly be feeling this. If we were feeling this, we'd be talking about this, because we wouldn't have a choice but to talk about it. In rooms when only white people are present, we would be talking about it if we were feeling anything about it. But we're not thinking about it because we're conditioned. We're conditioned. And we have an opportunity to rise above that conditioning. There's a lot of conditioning we talk about rising above in unity, and this is certainly some of that conditioning that we can rise above. So to conclude my friend's post this morning, property is nothing compared to human life. If you're upset at the riots and looting, not to be flippant, but get over it. Black men continue to be killed by the people who pay taxes to protect us. Black men continue to be killed by the people we pay taxes to protect us. It's hard to get upset. Oh, it's hard. Get upset about that. George Floyd was not the first man killed by police. Are you upset about that? Or about looting and violence? And where will you remain silent? Above all else, stop talking and listen. White folks, stop talking and listen. So we're going to get to these in just a minute. But before I do, I want to also comment on the fact that we, as white folks, have to take this opportunity so crucially seriously. Because we have to stay together and make sure our country is not divided. We have to be the ones to take the initiative to address this issue, because there are people who benefit from our division. There are people that benefit, and for not positive ways, from our being distracted in fighting so that other things can be carried out while we are over here worried about what window was blown out. So we have to be aware, we have to be crucially aware, and we have to be committed to not allow ourselves to go to sleep to the true atrocities that are occurring. Because a lot's going on, and it might be intentional that a lot's going on. So we have to be sure that we focus on the most important of these atrocities. So I love to talk about tools that we have to address the issues that we face. So I'm going to talk about a few ways that white people can address racism. And if you'd like this list, please reach out to me. These are only a few ways, but at least they get the ball rolling and they get you thinking in that direction. And we will get to the books, but first of all, list 10 ways you personally benefit from privilege. Share this meme and your list on social media. Now, if you're not to that point yet where you're comfortable because you know you have family members that would give you a lot of whatever, first of all, note what's really going on in that dynamic. It's called white fragility. And second of all, make the list anyway. Whether you post it or not, make the list, because it's important that you are aware and conscious as you are moving about the world how you are benefiting from privilege. Watch 5 movies in which white people are not the hero. Ask your faith organization to stop ignoring race. Check. Educate yourself on the Black Lives Movement to separate fact from fiction. When talking with people of color, listen more than you talk. Make a purchase, or hopefully many purchases, from Black-owned small businesses. We have an opportunity, folks, to show up for our Black family. Number one, it's really important for us to keep in mind that our Black family, no matter whether they're at work or at play or in church, they're not okay. They're not okay. It's up to us to stay vigilant to that. So let me give you an example. Yesterday we had a team call, the company that I work for now, and my boss is a white man out of Houston, very well-intentioned. and I would say does a lot to contribute to the healing of racial issues in our country. But yesterday, when we started our call, everybody on the call was so heavy, and the energy was just, it was so thick. And my boss made the comment, boy, I wish we could, go back to the beginning of this experience and get some of that energy you all had about being so glad to be at home for a while. Well, thank God for the miracle of text messaging. And he was able to be sent a text that said, "It's the state of the world." Oh, you could see his face when he read the text message on the Zoom. How could I not realize that? How could I not remember that? What's going on? Well, because yesterday I was able to get my hair cut for the first time in 3 months. That's how. And that's what we do, right? And it's not meant to be vicious. It's not meant to be harmful, but it harms. It harms, and I learned from that moment. It could have been me. It could have been any of us. But I learned from that moment, and that's why I'm sharing it with you all. Our black family's not okay, and we need to be vigilant about that. We don't need to tell them what they need to do. We don't need to tell them how they can feel better, but we do need to be vigilant about the fact that it's a continual day-to-day struggle, and it's particularly bad at certain times. Particularly bad at certain times. But you know what? It's not up to us to define when those times are appropriate either. And when I say us, I mean white people. It's not up to us to determine when that's appropriate for them to experience their trauma. So we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to educate each other, and I cannot speak more passionately on how important it is that we take the initiative to get the education and to share it with one another amongst ourselves in rooms of white people. Okay? So there's 4 books that I've put on the screen to share, and again, those of you who are watching, if you'd like more information about these books. White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism, Robin DiAngelo. How to Be an Anti-Racist, Ibram X. Kendi. Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. I love that title. Rennie Ito Lodge. And why are they no longer talking to white people about race? It's not their responsibility to. It's not their responsibility to. It's our responsibility. And that's why we're here today, to learn what we can do to contribute to the change to address what we are all feeling right now when we came into this room this morning. The last one, Algorithms of Oppression, How Search Engines Reinforce Racism. Sophia Umoja Noble. So I urge you all to start somewhere, start anywhere, but learn something more today than you knew when you got up this morning. Learn something more. Because I tell you something else I've learned is that we can't always rely on what we've been taught. I don't know about you all, but I learned in school that Abraham Lincoln was a champion for slavery. Right? But History.com has recently taught me otherwise. I have too many pieces of paper here, but I found the right one. So it just pays to do your homework and to never stop learning about these issues and to stay open. Abraham Lincoln's views became clear during an 1858 series of debates when his opponent in the Illinois race for U.S. Senate, Stephen Douglas, who had accused him of supporting Negro equality. In their 4th debate at Charleston on September 8, 1858, Lincoln was quoted as saying, "I will say then that I am not, nor have I ever been, in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races. He began going on to say that he opposed blacks having the right to vote, to serve on juries, to hold office, and to intermarry with whites. What he did believe, and this is very important, was that like all men, blacks had the right to improve their condition in society and to enjoy the fruits of their labor. They had the right to improve their condition in society and to enjoy the fruits of their labor. So think about how, from a cellular level perspective, how a white leader in 1858 was believing that black folks I'm not saying they deserve to be considered as equal. I'm saying they deserve to have an opportunity to better their lives. Just sit with that and think about how that quite possibly, and I think most definitely, has filtered down through the cellular memory of white folks to arrive at the place we are now with regard to what the majority of white folks believe to be true about black folks without challenging themselves. Think about it. Very interesting stuff. So here are some tools that we can use. I think in conclusion, I would just say our work as white people needs to happen every day. We have countless opportunities to address injustice in our lives, but we first must be willing to bloom. We first must be willing to emerge. And we no longer have the excuse of saying, I would have said something, but I didn't know what to say. The only reason you didn't know what to say is because you hadn't done enough homework yet. Today, it starts. And the next time, and you know it and I know it if you're in white skin, the next time you're in a situation where you know something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right, you will have done your work. As the result of your willingness to feel. To feel what is truly ours to do. God bless you all. Thank you. So, we have the opportunity now to be sung out, which I love, and I know that you all are thrilled to see these faces back on the screen, as am I. And I know that you're very eager to be back in the same room, as am I. So, for today, the Voices of Unity, along with Doug Devlin, tickling the ivories. Thank you, Doug. When I'm down, feeling blue, Spirit's working it out. When I don't know what to do, Spirit's working it out. Ups and downs, I'll get through. Spirit's working it out. Spirit, yeah, Spirit, Spirit's working it out. Oh, Spirit, Spirit, Spirit's working it out. Have no fear, have no doubt. Spirit's working it out. So when I don't understand, Spirit's working it out. I know it's a master plan. Spirit's working it out. I'll just do the best I can. Spirit's working it out. And Spirit, Spirit, Spirit's working it out. Come on, Spirit, Spirit, Spirit's working it out. Spirit, Spirit's working it out. Have no fear, have no doubt. Spirit's working it out. Spirit, Spirit, Spirit's working it out. Spirit, Spirit, Spirit's working it out. Have no fear, have no doubt. Spirit's working it out. Now have no fear, have no doubt. Spirit's working it out. Yeah. Y'all know this out there, sing with us. Yep. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, hide it under a bushel, no, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Don't let anyone blow it out. I'm gonna let it shine. Well, don't let anyone blow it out. I'm gonna let it shine. Don't let anyone blow it out. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Come on. This little light. Oh, yes, thank you all so much. And God of our understanding, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I know that it is past time. And as I open to the reality that love is my nature, then I know that love's purposes are my work. And I know that love can use all circumstances for purpose to those and for those who are open to love's purposes. And so in this moment, I recommit to work, to do the work that is mine to do, to be the heart that is mine to be, to flow the energy that is mine to flow, to arrive as the answer, to arrive as a solution, to arrive as a presence that helps to heal, helps to address, and is willing to listen more than it talks, is willing to feel, is willing to be guided, is simply willing to speak, willing to act as love would have us act, willing to go where love asks us to go. This is our gift. This is our opportunity This is our nature. Our nature. And just as we know today and every day that it is so because we allow it to be so, then in this moment as we prepare to go out into the world for another week, more equipped, more open, more love, more light, more purpose, we affirm together, and so it is. All right, amen. How about a little love train to take us home?
How about some?
Because that's the whole point. The love train. Thank you all so much for being here today. It's good to see you all. Wonderful to hear you. Thank you, Doug Devlin, so much. We look forward to having more of you, seeing more of you, hearing more from you. Absolutely. Thank you to everyone here today who helped make this happen.
It's gonna be Washington. Yeah. Tell all the folks in Russia and China too. Oh yeah. Hey, we don't want you to miss the train at the station. Come on now, it's gotta keep riding, riding, riding on through. Well, people of the world, join hands, start a love train. Hey, love train, come on, people all over the world, join hands, start a love train, and tell all of our brothers and sisters in Africa. Yeah. Tell all the folks in Israel and Pakistan too. Yes. Hey, we don't want you to miss the train at the station, 'cause we're gonna be sorry, sorry if you do. Well, people all over the world, join hands, start a love train, a love train. Hey, people all over the world, join hands, start a love train, a love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, a love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train. You know what? A love